It looks like we're going to start with the Stewart video. Is that right, John?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to start off with the Stewart Pittman video. While he's getting that set up, I just want to call out, we do have some candidates that are in the room tonight. So if I miss anybody, let me know. But we've got Scott Port. Oh, he just walked out there. Scott Poyer in the back there. He's running for Register of Wills, right? Yeah, clerk of the court. I thought that was right. Okay, clerk of the court. You were talking about Register of Wills earlier, though. And then Eve Hurwitz is running for Senate in District 33. And we've got Tracy Hubmill in the back here running for delegate in District 33. And we've got Pam Luby here running for delegate in District 33. And there she is. And Heather Bagnell running for delegate in District 33. And we've got Dawn Myers running for county councilor in District 5. All those are in the district we're in right now. So we're in District 33 right now, and then also we're in Council District 5. So if you live in this area, those are your candidates. Is there anyone else, any other candidates that I missed? No, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and watch the Stewart video.
I don't have it memorized, so I can't do
So this is home. As I travel around the county, I get to visit the places that I spent time as a kid, and I also get to discover new places with my children.
Meet Stewart Pittman. He's a small businessman and a farmer, a father and husband. He serves on the Farm Bureau and Soil Conservation District. He loves animals and the outdoors. He's tight with a buck, and he loves Anne Arundel County. Now Stewart wants to make a bigger difference for his community by serving as our county executive.
Anne Arundel County is a fantastic place, but Steve Shue's leadership is taking us in the wrong direction. Shue has launched a program of reckless development that is lining the pockets of his campaign donors but is hurting our communities. Schools are overcrowded. Teachers, firefighters, and police officers lack essential resources. Forests and open spaces have vanished, polluting our local waterways and the bay. And traffic is unbearable. I'll be a different kind of county executive. I believe in open doors and open lines of communication. I'll bring transparency and collaboration back to our government. As your next county executive, I'll bring business and community leaders together to create a development plan that is fiscally and environmentally sound. I will end pay-to-play politics by introducing laws to limit campaign contributions from donors with business before the county. I'll reduce class sizes and make sure our teachers and public safety officers have the funding they need. I'll make our roads safer, our waterways healthier, and our communities stronger. Together, we can keep Anne Arundel County the amazing place that we all love.
Stewart Pittman for county executive, putting communities first.
Now, if you don't know, if you're like me and you watch HGTV, I don't know what other channels, Steve Shue is up on television now. He has ads out there, and of course, he's got the money out of his own pocket that he can spend. He's also got plenty of developer friends to help him put that out there. So if you want to help put this on TV, Pete Barron is here on behalf of Stewart's campaign. Stewart needs money, so let's give some money to his campaign and help him put things like this out there for people to see. And also, as I said, sharing it on social media, even more than once. If you already shared it, a week ago, you can share it again, and it might hit new friends that didn't see it before. Whatever you can do to help Stewart's campaign and to get this stuff out there is really important, because we are working. I think he's raised a significant amount of money so far for a competitive race, but we also know that Steve has quite deep pockets of his own and is willing to do whatever it takes, because his plan, of course, is to run for governor in 4 years. In order for him to run for governor, he's got to win this election. So let's cut him off now and stop him in his tracks today and elect Stewart Pittman. We also have the video, the new television ad from Ben Jealous. So if you haven't seen it, it is equally as moving as that one. It's fantastic. It addresses a lot of the issues that you may have heard. Out there. There's a lot of those trolls on Facebook and on the internet they're always criticizing Ben. This addresses some of that, and and this is up on TV. And again, his campaign also needs help. So if you want to help out the Ben Jealous campaign, please do. Here's that.
One of two Maryland school teachers, Ben Jealous, Rhodes Scholar,
who turned around the NAACP when its finances were in tatters, restoring its prominence, nearly doubling its revenue. Named Marylander of the Year, businessman and venture capitalist, Ben's helped grow over 20 companies, creating over 1,000 jobs. Ben Jealous. His plan, Medicare for all, to lower costs and prescription drug prices, fully fund public schools, increase teacher pay. Ben Jealous, a job creator with a plan to invest in small businesses. The Baltimore Sun said Jealous has the stature and gravitas to lead Maryland. Ben's endorsed by teachers, nurses, and business leaders.
I've spent my life pulling people together to get big things done. We can do much better on jobs, education, and healthcare, but it means that we gotta believe in each other.
Ben Jealous, Governor.
So again, we gotta do whatever we can to get that sprung
He's the son.
to address some of the issues, because you'll hear over and over again, the Republicans have made very specific talking points to attack Ben Jealous, and this addresses some of that, so you can get out there. You talk about how he's a business leader, he's helped grow small businesses, his family grew up in Maryland, so all those things are things that you'll see out there, people attacking you for, and just make sure you get that message out. This is a great way to do it, because this ad is really good. And then, can we cue up Pete's slides? Sure. I'm going to hand this over to Pete. He's going to give you a little presentation. And then just so you know, the order of things, after we do that, we're going to do a little panel up here.
Yeah, I think I put it on the desktop. It's just called presentation. It's not on the drive. Is this a different? Oh, there's bottom right corner.
Bottom right corner. Stuart.
Yeah, branding is everything, right? So while that boots up, my name is Pete Barron. I am Stuart Pittman's campaign manager. Thank you all for coming out. This church is really cool. I was told this room was a pool. So it'd be a lot cooler if it still was. So our campaign is going really well, and I wanted to give everybody a little bit of an update and an overview of what we're doing and how we're going to win this thing. As Patrick mentioned, we're up against a guy who's funded by big corporate developers, has very deep personal pockets, and will spend way more than we will. That doesn't really scare me. You always want to have more money than your opponent, but Stuart will have enough money to compete. And message, we did polling, our message next to his message wins. The question is, do we have enough resources to get our message to enough people? And our campaign is working hard to make sure we do. As Patrick mentioned, we do need resources. I'm not saying we don't need resources, but our campaign is going to be funded by small contributions of $50, $100, $500, and is being funded by $50, $500 contributions, not $6,000 or $50,000 bundles right before a big planning and zoning decision. And as you heard in the video, one of Stuart's major proposals, the first thing that we're going to put together when we get into office is to get our delegation in the General Assembly to pass a bill that would ban developer contributions while a application is pending in the county. That will do what has happened in a number of other counties that have long histories of these, and you see it here, right? There was that development out near Crofton that was supposed to be zoned as a senior thing, and Shue came into office, and all of a sudden now it's zoned as not just senior living, so it impacts schools, but they never went back and did the school capacity test, so it overcrowded our schools. But Steve Shue got a lot of money out of that deal, and the developer made a lot of money, and our students, teachers paid the price, which is why our campaign has been endorsed by not only environmentalists, but the teachers, the firefighters, the police, and a number of county workers. I don't have the clicker thing. Can you go to the next slide? I don't have a pointer either, but I'm going to just show you a few things. So this is 2014 Anne Arundel County turnout. So this is the whole county. Dark green is good. Light green is bad. Dark green isn't even that great, by the way. It's 53%. But if you look at it, just eyeball where the light green is and where the dark green is. Can you go to the next slide? Get out green first. Oh, cool. Can I point? All right. Now it didn't work.
It's not showing.
Not showing up. But thank you. Look where the blue is. Can you go back?
You want to?
Go. Yep. Light. Now go back. Now go forward. Back again. No. Okay. So if you look at this map, it might be a little hard to see from back there, but you get the idea. Where the blue is, light green is. Where the dark green is, red.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's why what we're doing here tonight is so important. We got to get our people to turn out. So the little hash marks on the precincts, we're calling it a swing. It just means that there are more independents than there are the difference between Republicans and Democrats. And you can notice that there's a lot of swing in this county. Since we're standing in 33, right, we're standing there, that bottom red one right on the broad neck, that's a swing, right? As much as people think the 33rd is super red, there's a lot of room for movement here. So convincing our voters to turn out is the key. So that's our plan, right? There's no, this isn't what, rocket surgery? It's not. It's all we're doing. I'm pretty sure it works. We have an office up there by the airport. You can't really tell because I'm pointing. But up by the airport, we call it the airport office. We have an office down in Annapolis, right behind the Subaru dealership. And those are the areas where we're focused, but we are all over the county. We're working with the folks in the 33rd to make sure that we are sharing information, that when we have volunteers that contact us that want to go out there, they're carrying their stuff. We're working, we have an office that we launch out of on Sundays with Sam and the Alfred team, and James Kitchen, and Mike Shea, thank you. That it's out of our old radio station. We call that the radio station office. And so we're not ignoring any part of the county. We're going everywhere. And you can see that and I should have put up the registration numbers in the county and what the actual numbers are here. But if we get our folks to turn out, we're going to flip this county. So we have 46 days left. There's not much time. We don't need, great, big, strategic things. Right now, we're in the foot soldier stage. We need door knockers and phone bankers. Can you go to the next slide? One back. So first go to the top one. Right now, get out your phones, go to your credit card, and then go to the bottom one and volunteer and sign up. And wherever you sign up, we'll connect you with the speakers team and our team out of the Annapolis office, if that's what's easiest for you, or go out to the folks in the 33rd, or out to the airport, or down to the radio station in South County. Do it. Later is now. We don't have much time. So get out there and help us. And we're going to do this and we're going to win.
Yay.
Thanks, Pete. And Stuart couldn't be here tonight. He had another obligation that was planned before we had this, the date set on this one.
Like the debate.
Well, it is. There's also, thank you, Carol. So there's actually, Stuart's been doing community first forums across the county. If you haven't seen them, here, I let you point.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I got too excited. So we are doing, one of the things that Steve Shue did when he came into office, he put 17 developers on the planning and zoning transition team.
He serves on the Farm Bureau and Soil Conservation District. He loves it.
I mean, we can watch it again if you want. So he, what Shue did was put a bunch of developers on the planning and zoning transition team. That what they recommended was that we remove small area planning. This is the 16 small areas around the county that provide community input that goes up to the general development plan that shapes what our county looks like. This is everything from parks, roads, schools, all the stuff that county government deals with. You know, public safety stuff, all of that. So what we've been doing, and Reese out there in the back, stand up Reese. Reese is helping our field team, and we are going out in every one of the 16 small areas. We actually made a 17th because because of the way the county is grown, it actually makes sense to have 17 small areas, maybe more, but not 16. So we're doing 17 meetings. We've done 11 of them so far. You can go to our website and check it out. There's one in Severna Park coming up, and what's it?
Monday.
On Monday. We've got, we always need help spreading the word. So if you've got a next door community, you can put it up there. You can put it up, come to us and get our door hangers, and we do phone banking. And one of the things that we will do after, I think this presentation is we're all gonna do some breakouts. Reese will be upstairs, and he's going to show you how easy and cool our dialer is. So even if you can't get out there and knock doors, you can just hop on the phone and help us make thousands of calls. I think we built an audience just for tonight that we will, I'm confident that if everybody in here went up there and just was on the dialer for 10 minutes, we would make over 1,000 calls. So it really speeds up our work. It's really cool what we can do, and we leave a message from Stuart about what he stands for. The universe that we built for tonight is apartments, so it's houses that we can't get to on foot. So that is super helpful, and I hope you will all find Reese. Stand up again, Reese. Everybody look. That's Reese. Go find Reese, and he will get you set up on that.
Third floor.
Third floor? Yep, third floor. Find Reese, he will do it. Cool.
Thanks. Okay, so so he's been doing the community first forums on Monday night. As Pete said, there's one in Severna Park, so if you want to go, I encourage you to go. It's also the same night, unfortunately, that the gubernatorial candidates decided last minute to schedule a debate. So if you want to watch that on TV, that'll be on TV, but it's also going to be available at other times. So if you want to go to the Community First Forum, you can go to that.
And we're doing it at a restaurant. We haven't confirmed this, but we might be able to hang around and catch the end. Okay. Usually our forums last about an hour and a half. So who needs to see the first half hour of the thing anyway?
Yeah. Well, the other thing I was going to say is the debate is actually taped on Sunday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So it's not going to be live on Monday anyway. So you're not going to miss much if you wait and you watch it at another time. It'll be on the internet, and I'm sure they'll replay it on TV also. And the Central Committee will send out information about where you can find it, on TV later as well. So I would encourage you all to go to this Severna Park thing. And then let's see. So I guess what we're going to do next is we're going to have kind of a panel up here, and first we'll take some questions from folks if they have any questions. Then we each kind of have some specific things we wanted to talk about, and then at 7:30 we're going to hook up. Hopefully, we're going to hook up so that Kathleen Matthews, who's the chair of the Maryland Democratic Party, will be calling in to talk to us. So she'll have a message for us at 7:30. For the next half hour, we're just kind of going to go through some presentations. We each have some information to share. But first, I was just going to open it up. Did anyone have anything in particular they wanted to see us cover or have us talk about? Yeah.
We're going to talk about field.
Right, we're going to talk about field, we're going to talk about getting out the vote. Should we do that first and then do questions?
Well, maybe we'll have questions.
Well, what were you going to say?
Stuart Pittman has a background in community organizing and politics and so forth, which you would never get a sense from the video. Also has a degree, I guess, from the University of Chicago, which may or may not count for much here. But for independence, reaching out to independence, it seems to me that his interest in politics is not new, and we don't get a sense for it.
Don't get a sense of that his interest in politics is not new.
Like how long has been doing
Yeah.
organizing, community organizing?
Yeah, I mean, so this is always the balance, right? You have 2 minutes to get all the information across. So, we try to get the feel of him across best. But we definitely have a bunch of that stuff on the website. It's, it's very prevalent in our Community First forums. And we just went live with 2 15-second digital ads. We are doing the final, actually I think there might be one more. On Saturday we're doing our video shoot for our commercials that we'll be putting online. And I believe in the script you will see stuff about he was a community organizer. But there's not, what people need to hear. We have to be, I guess strategic is the right word, on making him likable, because the one thing that Shu has an advantage on over Stuart is he's a professional politician. He's been in office for 14 years. He's been on the ballot forever, right? He was 10 years, or maybe 16 years. He was a delegate for 3 terms and then the county exec. So we have to, we don't have the electoral base. We have to introduce what is a Stuart Pittman before you get out and get deep. So I hear you.
You have a question, Eileen?
So I'm Alex, I'm up from Rockville to help out tonight. And I heard from, we've heard from the campaigns individually, but I was wondering if you could address how they're being coordinated as we go out to help in any one of the campaigns.
I'd be happy to talk about, are you happy to talk? I don't know, is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. The office that Pete was talking about in Annapolis, at least for the District 30 area and that part of the county for both Pittman and for Lisa Rodgian, who's running for county council there, is the speaker, and Alice King, who's the other delegate candidate, and Sarah Elfreth, who's the Senate candidate, and this is Sam Twirling, who's Sarah's campaign manager, for any of you who don't know her. And the Maryland Party has got 2 field organizers in that office, and Ann called Itis has got space in that office, and Stuart Pittman's got space in that office. So we have a lot going on there, and we've managed to coordinate very well. We've organized ourselves into a rotational system, and for instance, this week is the Bush Week, we launch canvases, and you probably get emails from me regularly, and also from Noah. And so we've been lucky to set up enough infrastructure to make it easy to work together. So for that area of the county, we certainly have been working together.
So, again, hi, Sam Zwirling. I'm Sarah Alfred's campaign manager. She's running for state senate in District 30. So her district encompasses 30A, which is where we're running with the speaker, and then as well with 30B, which is the rest of South County. So we are running a very tight ship there. Karen Carney is here, who's James Kitchen's campaign manager, and he's running for county council down in South County. We're working with a Pittman team, as well as Mike Shea, who's running for delegate in South County. So in both of our operations, anytime that you come to volunteer with us and knock on a door, we're talking about all of our candidates, and we're all working as a team and sharing that information so we can be running in a coordinated way. And I know that when NOAA does that as well with the party, they're talking about our gubernatorial candidate, Ben Jealous, Ben Cardin, and our local electeds as well.
And you'll see the sign-in sheets that we have and any of the handouts have everybody's logo on them, because we really are a team.
And just to add on to that, I called it the airport office up near BWI. At that office, it's Sarah Lacey, Allison Pickard, Deb Ritchie are the three council candidates, and the incumbent, Pruski, is out of, we all work out of that office, as well as all the legislative candidates. And I know I saw Eve earlier. Her field director was here as well, and they work with us. Dawn does as well. It's a little bit further for some parts of the 5th and the 33rd to come all the way up to the airport, but we share data and share lists and do our best to get the IDs and all the stuff that we're going to be talking about why field is so important. Going back to my green chart, right, how to get people out, that's what we're really talking about.
Yeah, and also I wanted to throw in a couple things. So the Center Committee has started printing some materials that features our gubernatorial candidate, Ben Jealous, as well as the other candidates on there. So you'll see some of those in the back. We've tried to get our hands on as much Ben Jealous literature as we can, but that's hard to come by because they're printing a lot, but it's going all over the state. So they're having, there's some supply and demand issues there, but we've been including him on our literature, and we've been tying in all of our local campaigns to tie in Ben Jealous with the work that we do on the ground. And then also the 33rd team has an office in Smyrna Park, and so they do launches out of there. When they launch out of there, they're also working for Stewart. They're also working for Ann Colitis, and they're working for Dawn and for other candidates. So we use all of our office spaces as a team. Everyone works together, and all the candidates are welcome to participate in the events that we do out of there. So you'll see on a Saturday morning, Scott Porter will show up at any of those locations because he's running county-wide. So he'll show up and he'll grab some literature and he'll go out with the team and they'll pass out his stuff and all the other stuff. District 33 also has a joint piece of literature, which is also on that table, that has all the candidates that are running in 33, including Ben Jealous and Stuart Pittman and on down the line. So we're really, I think, making some really strong efforts to run as a team and get people to vote the entire ballot. There's always a tremendous drop-off when you get below those top couple of tickets on the ballot. So people show up to vote for governor, they might vote for senator, they might even vote for congressman, but then they stop voting because they feel like they don't know enough about local politics. Maybe they haven't on TV, they haven't heard about the local delegates because there's so many delegates in Maryland, they're not all going to be on the TV. And so people will drop off. We've got to change that mindset. Republicans go out, they go out in lockstep and they vote the entire ballot and they do it in force. And we've got to get people who want to see a more progressive group of candidates and more Democrat-oriented group of candidates elected. You've got to get people to vote that entire ballot. And if that means doing 5 minutes of Google searches before you vote, then that's what it takes. But we got to talk our friends into voting that whole ballot. And one of the things that we'll talk about tonight is why is it important to have a Democrat as our state's attorney? What's the difference? And we'll talk about who Ann Colitis is. We'll talk about some of the other candidates like Register of Wills. Why does it matter if it's Democrat or Republican? It matters because it's the person that you're electing. It's not the party, it's the person. And so being unified is really important, and that's a big part of our message tonight. And did you have something you want to throw in there?
Well, I was going to say, one of the best ways that we also do this is, we make sure we don't accidentally overlap areas, the same weekend, so that we're not hitting, the same voter twice on the same day. Like, we do prioritize different areas on the same weekend so that like we aren't like doing the same work 3 different times.
Right.
We need to be efficient. Like, we're down and we need to win. Like, we can make this county democratic. It'd be awesome.
So that's part of what coordination means. So let me ask you all a question. Is there anybody here who has never canvassed or never knocked on a door? Oh, we do have
Wow.
some. Yeah.
So we'll see you this Saturday.
Yes. Sign up. We're here. We'll be happy to teach you anything you need to know. Right? So,
Yes, so part of tonight-
We should talk about what field is.
Yeah, so my apologies because we got off to kind of a rocky start, so I didn't introduce people. But we're going to go through, we have a whole program tonight. So Noah Stewart is from the Maryland Democratic Party, and he's going to talk about field tonight, and that's what we call field, is getting out there, knocking on those doors, making those phone calls, connecting with voters one-on-one. Lee is from Speaker Bush's campaign and is working with the team in Annapolis. Sam, as we've said, is Sarah Alfred's campaign manager in District 30, and then as I think we already said, Pete is the campaign manager for Stewart. And so we brought together people that we thought would have each a good set of information to pass along to you so that you understand what is the campaign all about and then why do we need you so desperately to get out there and help us. So if there's no other questions right now, it looks like we've probably got about a little less than 20 minutes before Kathleen. Oh, there's a question in the back there.
Hi. I just want to say I was very impressed with this chart. It talks about what Hogan has done to shortchange Maryland compared to what Ben Jallis has to offer. And a friend of mine suggested that we take a picture of this and put it on our Facebook page. It's very clear, and I think people really don't know very much about Ben, and this would help a lot.
Excellent. Yes. So that material there.
I just want to comment quickly that we have all these, a lot of these slides on the Blue Wave website, so just look there.
Yes. So if you go on the Blue Wave website, they've got the material. You can actually get like an actual PDF of it, which might be a little clearer than your cell phone. But you can also do it on your cell phone. Just take that picture and put it up there. That material was put out by the Maryland Democratic Party. The bluish purplish piece that has features our women candidates was put out by the Democratic Central Committee. And if you don't know, that's just the term we use to describe the Anne Arundel County Democratic Party. So the Anne Arundel County Democratic Central Committee is the local Democratic Party. We are elected officials. We were elected in this year on the primary ballot. We're the very last thing at the bottom of your ballot, I think. So you would check off your top 3 people there. And so that's what we do, is we try to organize people, get people out there to vote, and then give you material that you can pass out to folks. There's other things back there too that you might find helpful that describes the candidates that will help you to talk to your friends and your family, so that when someone says, well, why does it matter, or why should I vote for this one instead of that one, that'll help you spread that message a little bit. So we got about 15 minutes before Kathleen Matthews is going to call us in. Let's Lee, do you want to?
Okay, let me talk about why field is important, what we do, what it is. I'm going to target the new folks who probably have not done, who said they haven't done this. What we do is we estimate how many voters we need to win. We get a win number for every candidate in every race. And then once we do that, then we figure out how many doors we need to knock in order to get to that win number, and how many people we need to sign up to say that they are supporters. That's called identifying supporters. And that's part of what you do when you go and you knock on the door and you explain why you're there and who you're representing, and then you ask, and we're doing for all of these candidates, so you ask if the election were held today, would you vote for Speaker Bush or Sarah Alfred or whichever one? And then we collect all that data and we put it back into a database, and we know who we need to go back and make sure they vote when we get to the end. And that's called GOTV, get out the vote at the very end. So for us in District 30, for this slate, we know that we need to hit 2,000 doors every weekend with our canvases. 2,000 doors, if every person knocks on 40 doors, that's 50 shifts. So the four of us cannot do that by ourselves, clearly. So that's why we need you. We need people who are willing to take to the streets and knock on doors. And you should also be aware that we don't go to every house. We target who we're going to, people that are likely to vote Democratic or are likely voters. And that's sort of the essence of what a field plan is and why it's important and why we need volunteers. And then I'm going to let my colleagues talk about how you do it, because they're launching canvases all the time, as are all of us who are deep in this campaign. So. Yeah, questions over here.
Well, I just wanted to say, I can just speak loudly. I did it for the first time this time around, and someone went with me. So if you're new, it's not like you're going off by yourself.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, I was really afraid to go, and then someone went with me. It was great.
Oh yeah. So when you go out and you canvas, it's really good to go with a partner. It's not hard to do it all, and sometimes you get a little nervous at first if you've never done it before, but practice makes perfect, and before long you're seeing new neighborhoods that you didn't even know existed. You're going to be, you're probably going to be canvassing somewhere near where you live, presumably, and so you get to meet your neighbors, you get to see, one of the things that I like is just seeing like how people live, like seeing someone's garden, like how did they do their garden versus, whatever. It's like you're getting a very intimate look into someone's life, just going up and knocking on their door, and a lot of folks won't be home or that they won't answer, but there are those good conversations that you can have with people where they legitimately, you may be the first person to come up to them and talk to them about local politics. And living where we live, I think all of Anne Arundel County is, there's a lot of new people that come into this county, and so there's a lot of folks that don't know the histories, and so they may never have heard of Steve Shue before, and so we have the first opportunity to say, well, here's Stuart Pittman, and it doesn't matter that Steve's been around, for years. We can have that introduction from folks and be the first ones to talk to them. You can also talk to folks and maybe they just never have heard from a Democrat before. Maybe you're the first time that anyone from the Democratic Party has come on behalf of a candidate. And so you can really make an impression on folks and really change the minds, because it's all about winning votes one at a time, talking to folks and getting those people out to vote. And so with that one-on-one conversation, you can really make a difference. And like Lee said, we're targeting voters. So we're sending you to the people who we know we need them to show up and vote. We're not sending you to folks where we think maybe they aren't going to vote our way. We're sending you to the folks that, for example, and I think Noah might mention this, the Board of Elections tracks who votes. So you don't know how they voted, but you know who voted. And so we can say, well, this person votes in every presidential election, and they're a Democrat. So and so you can presume that they might be voting our way. We also have metrics we use to try to determine how likely are they that they're voting for Democrats. But they never vote in these midterm elections. So we want to knock on their door and say, hey, did you know there's an election coming up? Are you upset about Donald Trump? Here's an opportunity for you to stick it to Donald Trump and win some local elections, because that matters. People don't think that necessarily think that matters, but it does, because if we start flipping seats, think about Maryland. Even in Maryland, we talk about Maryland being a blue state, but Anne Arundel County is very much a purple county. We have it, and we're right on the border. Actually, I may have misspoke. We may be in 30 right now, but we're either 30 or 33. Okay, we're in 33. Okay, 33 is all Republican. We have 3 Republican state delegates, Republican state senator, Republican county councilman, and so a Republican governor. And so, this is an area of the state where even though we're a blue state, we can flip this area of the county and make it blue. And District 30 is right up the road of St. Margaret's. And, they're split. They've got a Republican delegate there now. They're trying very hard to flip the Senate seat there to be a Republican Senate seat. So, what happens here matters. And when, CNN is talking about, do we take back the House, do we take back the Senate, what also matters is these local races. And did Maryland flip the 33rd? Did Maryland win some of these seats? And are we able to overcome the narrative that's been put out there that Larry Hogan is unstoppable and actually flip the governor's mansion? So those things really matter, and these one-on-one conversations is what gets people out to vote, what gets them motivated when they're not thinking that it necessarily matters in a midterm election.
Can I just do some simple math real quick? So countywide, we have about 150,000 people that our campaign wants to talk to. It's about 100,000 doors. So if you just divide that into the number of shifts and I went to law school not to do math, but it is not a small number of shifts that we need. But already between our campaigns, we have knocked on almost half of that number of doors. We have a long way to go, but that is been done with folks just like you. There's nothing special, except our volunteers are all special, but there was nothing special about folks that came out and did it. They just came out, grabbed the pack, got the training, got lit, and we always give a bottle of water, coffee, and donuts, and we got them out there on the doors. We've done out of the north, I know, every Saturday and Sunday during the week, got people out every Saturday and Sunday down in Annapolis. I know Pam Luby was here, I don't know if she still is, and Eve and Dawn and all of the 33rd are always out there, and Sarah and Kitchen and the team down in South County. So it's not hard, but it is math and numbers. So sign up for a shift, come out, and take 50 doors off of our 100,000 total. And between you and all your friends, it quickly adds up.
And I would like to add, who so far has gone out to a protest? Who's been out to a march? Please raise your hands. Who's been out to 2? Who's been out to 3? 4? Okay. So if we had spent that time, out there knocking doors, that same amount of time, we wouldn't have had to go to all of those marches. We need to start being proactive rather than reactive. If we get out and actually knock these doors, we can make sure that we elect the right people in the office in the first place. So that then the Republicans aren't taking away our health care, they aren't trying to take away women's rights, they aren't just trying to completely gut our society. Like, I know talking to a random stranger can be really weird and kind of scary, but it's scarier not having the right to choose, not having health care, just worrying about if we're going to be able to survive the next year. This is honestly why we need to get out, knock doors, make these phone calls.
The single most powerful thing you can do is ask somebody for their vote in person. It's been proven over and over and over again. So going and saying, I'm a volunteer and this is why I care is an incredibly powerful way to persuade people of the importance of voting. So that's why we encourage you to do it.
And you can pick an issue. So if you may not know everything there is to know about Stuart Pittman, but if you know that you don't like the advancing development, the way that we're just developing every square inch of this county day by day and not doing anything about it, then that can be your issue. Or if there's some other issue that matters to you, that can be what you talk to a voter about. You don't have to know everything there is about Stuart. And if you get into a conversation and someone asks you a question you don't know the answer, well, there's 2 easy ways to do it. One is you just apologize and say, well, I don't know everything about him, but he's got a website, and you can also direct them to contact the campaign, and the campaign can get in touch with them. So you don't have to be an expert. You just have to know, why is it that you support these candidates, and then you make that case. And I saw it, here.
Yeah, I tried to. Oh, I'm sorry. Probably not enough, but I tried to help Broadneck High School get the vote out, and I was basically turned away. I was told that no, I didn't have the proper credentials. I wasn't going to be able to do that. They pointed me in the direction of the NAACP. I contacted the NAACP person, and he never contacted me back. They had no phone number. I contacted him by email. So I would like to see the Democratic Party help us get the vote out at a young age, because I think that the young voters are even more likely to be Democrats. They're more likely to be forward-thinking, and it's their future that's at stake. And so I would really love to see more voters come out, and I wouldn't mind somehow going to the high school and before school starts, when all the walkers are coming in and passing out pamphlets or passing out applications for voting or doing something. I don't know it's legal, but
sure. I can say that.
I'm glad you say that, because within our own universe of targeted voters, it's newly registered voters. So pretty much anyone who's 20 and under is within the universe that we're trying to contact. They are specifically more liberal voters, because we don't want to turn out the young Republicans.
AACC, or AACC, standing on the campus of AACC, you get 40, 50, 60 people that you run into, like, what do we say to them? Am I allowed to say it? What would be best for me to give to them?
We need to develop some guidance on that. So what I can tell you is a couple of things. One is that actually at Severna Park High School, there's actually a very robust Democratic club at the school. It was started a couple of years ago by someone she graduated last year, and so I know she handed it off to someone else. Broadneck does not, I don't believe, have the same Democratic club in the school, and it's very specific to schools. That has to be approved by the principal. All the clubs and all that kind of stuff has to go through the school itself, and not at the higher Board of Education. And so it can be difficult to get into the schools, but it is something that we should be doing, and we definitely should be looking out for that kind of thing.
No, so in a big part, thanks to Speaker Bush, there is same-day registration during early voting. So registering people to vote is extremely important, but at least where I sit, I'm going to be pushing everybody, oh, you're not registered to vote? No big deal. You just have to go vote during early voting. And I'm IDing voters.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that's a really important thing. Yeah, this is the first election cycle, and it's something that we've been fighting for. There's actually a ballot question to allow same-day reg on election day as well, and we're going to make sure that passes, because that's registering people to vote. There shouldn't be any barriers to somebody wanting to get to vote. So hopefully we'll make that a reality this time.
And just to follow up on that, so we are we're almost at time where we have to
about 5 minutes. We have another question.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. So actually, years ago, when I went to Anne Arundel Community College, I started the College Democrats Club on campus, and it was not easy because first I had to find professors to be our sponsor, and then you have to figure out the rules, and you got to write bylaws and do all this stuff. And once it's there, it's established, and so we need to get back into AACC and try to get a new club started there. And then also, like you said, Broadneck, it's something that takes time. And I will say that I'm new to being to running the central committee in the county, but it's something that is on my mind that I would like to see us do, is to find a way to ID those students that want to make it happen, and then give them the tools they need to make it happen. We're not there yet, but it is on the horizon, hopefully.
Yeah. So as some of you may or may not know, so if elected, Sarah will be the youngest female state senator ever elected in the state of Maryland by 18 years. And I myself am her campaign manager. I'm 26 years old. And 2 of our main volunteer coordinators are in high school. They're 17 years old. They're seniors applying for college, and some outstanding girls. So we are working very hard and making sure that Sarah gets elected. But if you're like me, you might wonder a lot of times, the knocking on doors, how does that actually translate into real decisions? And a lot of the IDs that you bank for us, so meaning if somebody says, yes, I'm absolutely going to vote for Sarah Elfreth, we have a limited amount of resources. So when we send out our mail or we send out other things, we can't send it to all of District 30 because we don't have the resources, unfortunately. So if somebody has already told us, yes, I am absolutely voting for Sarah Elfreth, we're not going to send them mail because that's a waste of our money. So every door that you knock and tell us exactly how somebody's going to vote, and if they're saying, I'm absolutely voting for her opponent, then we're not going to send them mail either. So those people, people who are supportive of our candidates, you might think, I'm supporting my candidate. Why aren't I getting mail from them? Well, it's because we know you're with us, but we are going to reach back out to you during the get out the vote time to make sure that you actually turn out to vote. So right now, we're in the persuasion time where we're trying to persuade voters to vote for our candidates and to be for our candidates. And then in the last week and a half or so, it'll be GOTV, so we're getting people out to actually vote. So everything that you do helps us spend our resources more wisely. And you might know Sarah's race in the Senate, at least, is part of the Drive for 5, which means that Larry Hogan and the Republicans are targeting that as one of the 5 races in the state to try to flip the state Senate, to break our supermajority in the state Senate. So our race is really important, and it's important to us to use our resources appropriately. So every door that you knock really helps us make strategic decisions, and it really helps us then have the best turnout.
Come this Saturday at 9:30 to the Annapolis office. I'll leave some handouts that tell you exactly what to do to sign up, and some or Sunday at 1. 9:30 on Saturday, every Saturday at 9:30, every Sunday at 1. It's for all of these candidates. And I also have another handout on canvassing tips for any of you who are new who would like it. And I'll read those.
All right, we're gonna call in Kathleen We're gonna call in Kathleen Matthews, and she's gonna have a message for us. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear her. So give us a second to get that set up.
Yes, ma'am. But here's Patrick for you.
Hey, Kathleen, is it fine if I put you on speakerphone? All right, 1 second. All right, you're on.
Good evening, everybody. Am I talking to the whole group there?
You are.
Yes, you are. Fantastic. I love the wonders of technology. I've just come out of an event in Montgomery County where we had Susie Turnbull, who's running for Lieutenant Governor, and also Mark Elrich, who's running for County Executive here. And it's great to be talking to all of you in Anne Arundel County. I have to say, not only are you at the front of the alphabet, but you're one of my favorite counties because you guys have just been killing it there. You've been so awesome in the organizing. Even a year ago, putting together a precinct organization, and then the canvases that you've been doing in the off year, and now as we're in the countdown to our big election. So kudos to Noah, who's been with us from the beginning at the Maryland Democratic Party as your Anne Arundel County point person. And I'm just thrilled with the collaboration with your Anne Arundel County Democratic Central Committee and all the folks over there, because you've got some really big elections and an opportunity to turn Anne Arundel from red to blue. So here's what we're doing, folks. We have offices now in 24 places in the state of Maryland. This is truly an all-Maryland strategy. Anne Arundel is such a high priority that we have 2 campaign-coordinated offices in Anne Arundel County. We're collaborating with Sarah Elfreth and Mike Bush, and in one office, and then we have the second office. So 2 places to really make sure we have coverage through your county to be able to go into every neighborhood and get out the vote. So from the top of the ticket, where we have Ben Jealous and Susie Turnbull, to re-electing Ben Cardin, to re-electing your members of Congress, and you have 3 of them in Anne Arundel.
4.
Between 4? Oh my gosh, 4.
We got those 2, yep.
Oh, so you've got, it's unbelievable. You've got Elijah Cummings, and you've got John Sarbanes, and you've got Anthony Brown, and I didn't even realize that Dutch had a sliver of Anne Arundel. So re-electing all of them, we certainly have to make sure that we keep the State House. And all of us are thinking tonight about Speaker of the House, Mike Bush.
Yeah, we've made the announcement so folks are aware, and we're going to be out there fighting even harder to make sure that that he gets the help he needs so we can get him across the finish line in November.
Fantastic. So Mike Bush is a fighter, as you know. A year ago, he was going through transplant surgery. He's done terrific on that, rebounded quickly, has been out there, and I know he'll have a quick recovery from this much simpler heart bypass surgery. So we are all in for Mike Bush and his strategy to make sure he holds on to the supermajority in the House of Delegates. And of course, we've got to hold on to the Senate, and Sarah Elfreth is key to that strategy. So Sarah Elfreth, we're with you, and making sure we bring that district home for the Democrats. So the tools we've given you are, number 1, this year we have 1 million more cell phones. The DNC has worked with us, and we've been able to get 1 million more cell phones, so our phone banks are going to be much more effective. Number 2, we have 100 dialer seats. meaning we can use dialers and you can do them from phone banks, but also from home. And so you'll get more training on that, but our phone banks will be much more effective with the cell phones and the dialers. But the most effective thing is going door to door. When somebody sees somebody at their door who's passionate and believes that we need Democrats to govern in Maryland, that's how you change minds. And we just got to make sure that we change minds and educate people about why Larry Hogan does not have the juice to move Maryland forward in the future. He doesn't have the bold ideas, and why Stephen Shue doesn't have the bold ideas, and that we've got the candidates with the bold ideas to move our state forward. And so that's really your job, to stand up for the Democrats, you know, to listen to people, but also be convincing as we do those canvases. So Noah, anything else I should talk about here?
I think we're good. I think I saw the bases right there.
It's really a blue wave because of people. People are the blue wave. And this is really how we're going to do it. Larry Hogan's got $9 million in the bank. And so he can outspend Ben Jealous. But we have the people power. And we have the voter registration advantage, 2-to-1 Democrats over Republicans. And we just need to get our Democrats out. And if we get as many Democrats to vote in 2018 as we did in 2010, we win. 2014 was the aberration. Democrats thought we had it nailed. We thought we had it locked. But we didn't. And that's why we lost a lot of races in 2014. But if we can get more than 1 million Democrats out to the polls, we can win this election, folks. And it'll make a difference because Maryland can be a firewall to the regressive Trump administration policies. We can be a leading state in this country. And that's why I'm so excited to partner with all of you. And I'm so grateful for all your support.
All right, thank you, Kathleen. I appreciate it very much for you calling it into us today.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, so if you haven't met her, Kathleen has actually been great about doing events across the state and does a lot of stuff in Monroe County because the Maryland State Party headquarters actually is in Annapolis. So she's great, and she's been a great fighter for Democrats in this state since she took over, I guess it was about a year ago. Yeah, so that's our message from our chair. I'll get to you, and then I'll move back over here and another question.
I just wanted to know, what's her last name?
Matthews.
Thank you.
Oh, so Kathleen Matthews, in case you don't know,
Yes.
if you've lived here long enough, you know that I think it was NBC, the DC station, WRC, was that right? WJZ. She used to be on the TV. She was a TV anchor years and years and years and years ago. I remember I used to come from school and because I'm a nerd, I would watch the news and she'd be there. And then she's also married to a very famous Matthews as well on MSNBC, Chris Matthews. And if you don't know, a couple of years, I think it was just 2 years ago, 2016 or 2014, she ran for Congress. She didn't win the primary. She ran as a Democrat for Congress. And she's also a businesswoman. She's had a long history in the business community, working for several very big corporations in the DC area. And so she's got a business background there as well. So she took over about a year ago, I think, as head of the party, and she's done tremendous work fundraising for the party, getting us back up on our feet after that difficult defeat in 2014 and 2016.
Could I say something?
So the Democrats reached out to the progressive community. They brought all of us in and met with us. Kathleen met with about 40 groups once and then about 30 groups another time. So there's been a tremendous coordination between the progressive groups and the party. And that's what the Blue Wave Maryland website is all about. And we hope you'll take a look at that too.
Do you know any of the Blue Wave back there?
You didn't get in yet?
No, I had to take it away from her.
Just one more.
All right.
So I went to Broadneck last year, and I was on the equity team, which is kind of similar to what Sparta Park has, and we organized the school walkout after Parkland. We had about half the school participate, so I know there's a lot of opportunity there to engage young voters. And I also go to AACC right now. I'm on the newspaper there, And there's a lot of opportunity to get voters there because, I mean, not a lot of the students there are happy with what's going on right now. So what are you guys doing at AACC?
So, you know,
So I also went to ACC, and Dr. Nathaf is actually my international relations professor. So we always try and get as many AAC students tied into internships with us so that we can, you know, essentially like build up the next wave of politicos in the state of Maryland. I was going to say we have one of the older state legislatures in the United States, so we want to get like new blood truly injected into our state.
Can we stand out there at AACC and hand?
No, you have to be connected. The best way is, we can talk afterwards, the best way is to get a student organization on campus. Because only student organizations can post flyers on campus. They're the only ones that can put up a table on campus. So we really need to get into the school and do that. And I think, I don't know if they still have a Republican Club. I checked maybe a year ago.
They don't.
Oh, they don't. Okay, that's I guess that's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, it's always a struggle. And one of the things with AACC is that there usually is like a 2-year school, so there's turnover every couple of years, and so handing it off to the next person sometimes is a struggle. But we do need to work with, we can find some professors there, or maybe you know some, Dan Nathaf.
Yeah, Dr. Nathaf's doing a debate soon, and is actually using the campus current newspaper there for work, and we're going to be like moderating it. And so we're hoping to get a large turnout from students, but I think that that's a really great resource that you guys could use.
Yeah, we can see if maybe he'll allow us to do, or you or someone to do a sign-up sheet, maybe if they're interested in getting involved with the state party or something. And then from there we can try to grow it into an actual student organization that then has the full rights. Because not to gloat, but when I was there, it was the 2004 election, to date myself, and we had, every time there was a presidential debate, we booked a room with a big TV, and we would invite people to come in and watch the debate. And we did things like that. We actually had, John Edwards was at the time running for vice president, he actually came to the campus for a rally. So if you have like a group on campus, then you can make those things happen. You can bring people in, but you've got to have that. You've got to be in the school. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And it's a goal that we are working on. And same thing with being in the high schools, not just Broadneck, but every high school in the county. We'd like to try to get some kind of a group going for that. Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Flip the County, but a friend of mine has worked with them, and she has done, I know, the Wiley dates and registered voters, and I thought she went to Broadneck as well and registered voters. So I don't know if we can work with them so that we're not reinventing the wheel if they're already doing this.
Sure, yeah, so I know Flip the County. We can talk to them and see what have they done and how did they do it. I don't know. They probably did a nonpartisan, well, I mean, I guess they're not nonpartisan, but it might depend on how you approach it. If you approach it as like a nonpartisan, like we're not here to register, we're not here as Democrats, we're just here as citizens. That may make it easier, but I could talk with them and see what they did. But also, I kept forgetting, I want to mention, so you can register to vote at 16 years old now in the state of Maryland. So when you get your driver's license, you can register to vote. You can't vote till you're 18, but you can register as young as 16 years old. And so it's really important we get people registered so they don't forget later on down the line, and we don't go chasing after them. You can get them when they're young. So if you have high school students who you know maybe are 16 years old, go ahead and get them to register to vote now. And I think it's
vote for question 2 to make sure we can have same-day registration. So, and I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't, the student at AAC, is your name Ashley? I didn't catch your name.
No, Sarah. Wait,
Sarah.
are you talking about Ashley Sokolowski?
Yeah, she interviewed Stuart.
I was right next to her. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, it's great that students are getting involved, but I really think with 40-something days out, registering people to vote is fantastic and definitely a program we should do. But as a campaign, our focus is pushing people to same-day register if somebody says, oh, I'm not registered. I think it's just super easy.
The Democratic Committee needs to do is get that message out to everyone that we can do same-day vote, because that message isn't getting out.
So then let's knock on some doors.
Yeah, I agree. So, yeah, we can definitely try to push that messaging as well. Maybe we should actually have a printed material or something that says that you can pass that out and let people know that during early voting, if you know someone who missed the cutoff deadline or just doesn't have an opportunity to do it, they can do that. We can also encourage folks to do it online. So there's a lot of different websites you can go to. The state of Maryland has a website that you can use, but you can also, Rock the Vote has a website, and one that I like is Turbo Vote. And Turbo Vote, the reason I like that is because you actually register with it, and then you give them your email address, and they'll actually start emailing you to remind you, don't forget, hey, there's an election coming up, don't forget to vote. And so it's more of an interactive thing, so they remind you year after year that, you know, it's something that you need to do. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understand what the rules are. Right now, you can register during early voting, but on election day, if you haven't already registered to vote, you cannot vote.
Correct.
So there's a question on the ballot to change that so that next election cycle we can register, or we can just vote on the same day.
So
thanks to great Democrats like Bush, I don't think a single, I could be wrong, but hardly any Republicans, I would be shocked if more than a handful voted for it. I mean, that is proof as to why we need to get out and win.
And the last day to register is?
16th? No, I don't think it's November 1st. It might be 16th.
I'm pretty sure it's October 16th or during early voting.
Or, yeah, in early voting.
So just to clarify, so today, you can register to vote today. It's not too late, you can send it in. I'm not sure the exact date, although we have voter registration forms out in the lobby that might have the date on it. It might be October 16th, somewhere around there. Okay, it's the 16th. So if someone hasn't done it by the 16th, then they can do it during early voting. Encourage them to do it beforehand just to get it done. For one thing, if you do it during early voting, just a little asterisk, I think you have to vote a provisional ballot, and then provisional ballots, they only count those if the election is so tight that they need to count them to figure out who won. If somebody won by so many that it won't make a difference and they won't count them. So if you really want your vote counted, you should register ahead of time. But definitely let people know if you run into someone after the 16th of October, let them know they should go during early voting and do that. And then also let everyone you know, tell them that they should be voting yes for question 2, which is allowing same-day voter registration. And tell them also they should be voting yes on question 1, which is which is the lockbox for school funds out of the casinos. So if you all remember, I don't know, 8 years ago or 10 years ago, something like that, is when we passed casinos in Maryland. And the agreement was that the money was all going to go, or not all of it, but a percentage of it was going to go into education. But we've had problems with that not always happening the way that it should. So we're asking people to support question 1. The Democratic legislature actually passed that bill, which I believe Larry Hogan was against until after it passed, and then he signed it. And I believe he's taking credit for it now. So it's one of those things where, you know, everyone's going to take credit for it, but just know that it is a good piece of legislation that locks in that school funding.
And while I do want to pull this back a little bit to field, since you got our field panel, voter registration is amazing, but since we are only 47 days out from the election now, we do have a targeted universe of the people that if we turn them out, we will absolutely win. And you know, we won back in 2016 for the first time for a Democratic presidential candidate in Anne Arundel County. Like, we flipped the county since Harry Truman. Yeah.
So Hillary Clinton was the first Democrat to win a presidential election in Anne Arundel County since like the 1950s.
1950s. Yeah.
60. Okay, there you go. So it's doable, it's possible, and by the way, it was also it was in part because we got the messaging out to folks here in this county as to which candidate was a better candidate. And so when we get that messaging out, we can win.
And we did that by knocking doors, making phone calls. And if we do that this year, we'll keep Anne Arundel County legal going forward.
Carol up here has a question. Yeah, I'm just grabbing the mic.
Hi, this isn't quite a question, but I'm Carol Brown and I'm in D33 on the board. But why are we all going to go out there and knock out doors? I think the lady who mentioned this circular for Ben Jealous, I love mnemonics. HEAVE, healthcare, education, economy, environment, and values. So I want everyone to say to themselves, HEAVE. HEAVE, let me hear it. My old teacher days. HEAVE. Healthcare, number 1. Education, economy, environment. Let's all say it. Education, economy, environment. And V for values and victory. Okay? So whether we know the ins and outs of all this legislation, we know that HEAVE, healthcare, education, economy, environment, and values, Democrats are for it. We promote it, and our our county needs us so that we have this for our county and for our country and for our state. So if you pick one of them, going door to door, healthcare, and we know that Hogan is diminishing the support for these things. Heave, healthcare, education, economy, environment, and values. Pick up one of these things on your way out. Why are we going door to door? What are you going to talk about? Just throw it out. This is what we're for. That's why we're here tonight. So get out there. I've been knocking doors for 30 years. I love it. It counts, and I believe Kathy Matthews, human contact, but we're out there fighting for our society. Heave.
Thank you.
We've got a question in the back there. We got it. Where?
We've been talking about a lot of head issues. I've been doing campaigning since John Kennedy's days. Okay, I've been around a while. If you really want to make an impact, and do what they're doing, you want to make an emotional impact. And here's an issue for you to take with you. Down by the college up here, next to the driving course, there's a 25-unit senior citizen trailer park. They now want to turn that into 40 new homes. They want to take the old people, they want to throw them out, get them out of there. There's an old lady, she's in her 80s, she's been there 41 years. Where is she going to go?
Yes, and
that's the point. You take something like that, you make it human, and that's a very human thing. You think about that. Some of those trailers have been there a long time. They are substandard. They can't be moved, and they won't be moved anywhere else. But the only place these people can possibly go is go to Delaware. And how can they afford it? The one fellow said it's going to cost me $25,000 to move my trailer. That's a personal issue. You make it personal, you make it emotional, and you get their attention.
Very true. I couldn't agree more. And if you go to Stuart Pittman's Facebook page, there's a video of him talking with those seniors about that issue.
And you'll notice, interestingly enough, because I grew up here. I live in Glenbury now, but I grew up right over here. And I was coming home to my parents just the other day and prepped for this tonight, and driving down Baydale, and all of a sudden there's a traffic light being put up at a place where they don't. I was like, why in the world do we need a traffic light? There's no need for a traffic light here, and it's because of that. And so the county knows what the plans are. The county, is making preparations for those to go away and to be replaced by housing. So that's why they're putting in a traffic light. And so all those things work in, they work together. So it's no surprise to the county that a developer wants to do this, and the developer isn't surprised. Doesn't even have to go begging to the county to put in a traffic light. The county will put the traffic light in for them. They did up on Ritchie Highway. They put in not the Wegmans, but the Harris Teeter, and they put in widened that intersection for the Harris Teeter, and that benefits the business, but it came at taxpayer cost. We had to pay to widen this intersection. So all of it's tied together, and it's important to really get down into the weeds of it and to understand how, someone says, what is a county executive? Why does it matter who our county executive is? Development issues. That's a big issue. And same thing with the county council. And the next county council is going to rezone all of Anne Arundel County. This is something that people want to talk about. The entire county has a comprehensive rezoning every 10 years, and it's about to happen in the next 4 years. And the next county council is going to decide that. So we have 3 Democrats on our county council and 4 Republicans. We need to flip at least one of those seats so that we have a majority in the county council. And we need Stuart Pittman to be able to be in there so he can veto things and he can push legislation along. So our path to victory on the county council, you've got Dawn Myers here, who is a strong candidate. She's well connected. She's from Cape St. Clair, but the district stretches all the way out to Davidsonville. So she's not as well known out in Davidsonville, but she's better known in Cape St. Clair area. She's got a decent amount of money, and she knows her stuff. She's been very involved in the community and on the board of Cape for a long time. We've also got a candidate in Glen Burnie, Allison Pickard, who's also run a great campaign and is out there fighting every day in a seat that is truly a flippable seat, because when you look at the votes there in presidential years and off years, the Democrats are there. You can get the votes, you just got to get them to show up. You've got James Kitchen down in South County, and his campaign. He is running against the wife of the chair of the Maryland Republican Party. So she is very well connected, has lots of money, and is plugged in there in ways that is hard for anyone to compete. But James knows the people, he knows the communities. He's a former teacher, and he knows what he's fighting for. But we've got to be able to get out there and help him to overcome some of the disadvantage of being in an area that leans slightly red. But the votes are there. If we pull enough Democrats out to vote, we can make the difference. And so there's seats throughout Anne Arundel County we've got to flip and we've got to hold. Andrew Prusky is fairly safe in his seat. Sarah Lacey is a newcomer to politics, but she's a strong fighter. She won the primary out in West County, but now she's running against another very strong Republican candidate in an area that's very purple. And so we've got to hold on to that seat as well. So, knowing those local issues, like you said, the emotional issues, that can tie into people, and you can educate them as to why they should be voting for their county council and their county executive, when they otherwise might think, well, I don't know anything about local politics, so I'm just going to leave it blank.
Remember, traffic is the most bipartisan issue, and Republicans want to give us more of it.
This is true.
So I know we have other, I'm sorry. Yeah. You had your hand. You want to go?
Yep.
Right here.
You. There you go.
I just want to ask one field question, which is the million cell phones, which I noticed immediately in Van are just populated everywhere. Is it a million cell phones in Maryland? And do we know how many of those are in Anne Arundel County? No, that may be an unfair question. I just wondered.
So it is Maryland, because we only have access to Maryland for like our cell phone data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Not sure about the number for Anne Arundel County.
Okay. I wondered if you know. And then I wanted to say that District 5, which James Kitchen represents, is the largest district in Maryland. I'm sorry, 7. Yeah, I'm looking at 5 here. So 7 goes all the way from South County through Davidsonville up to Crofton. And so James is campaigning in Crofton every Saturday at 10:30, and then we go down to South County on Sunday, and we have other things going on. So, anyway, but I'm delighted with all the cell phones. That's a great addition to the band.
And Crofton is one of those areas where there's a lot of new development happening, so there's a lot of new families, and it's an opportunity for us to connect with people, again, who don't know the legacy candidates that have been around forever. We can introduce ourselves.
And you mentioned, Patrick, the Enclave, which really was how James got started in this whole thing by objecting to all the development. And then on the other side of Route 3, they just torn and clear-cutted acres and acres and acres of land. It's not pretty. So.
Yeah, I don't know how many folks are where everyone's from in the county, but if you haven't been up along Route 3 in Crofton recently, you should take a drive down there because it is being torn to shreds. They're building a huge new townhouse developments all along that strip, and it's just, unbelievable really when you drive down there. Also in the center median of Route 3, they're also tearing out things. They're putting another gas station along there. It's like a free-for-all, and this county executive just signs on the dotted line and lets them have whatever they want. And as we talked about schools, we talked about traffic, those things are all affected when we start having all this construction happening in our county.
So my wife is leaving for a 10-day trip, so I'm maybe trying to get off the panel quicker, but I know we have some digital folks that we want to hear from. I see Keith back there, who's with Senator Cardin and Tyler. So why don't you gentlemen come on up and tell us all the wisdom about some digital stuff.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks to our panel for a
You're
great.
free to go.
Thank you.